The desert at dusk was a lonely place, but it had always been home to Michael Raines and his dog, Duke. Michael, a former engineer-turned-drifter, had left the noise of cities long ago, trading steel tower for wide-open skies. He wandered from outpost to outpost across the frontier worlds, earning credits by fixing machines or guiding caravans. Duke, a loyal shepherd mixed with sharp ears and a keener nose, had been his only constant companion. That evening, they were camped on the edge of a canyon on Vela 9, a planet still half-wild despite the scattered human colonies. The sky stretched in violet and gold, two moons chasing each other above the horizon. Michael stoked a small fire, its crackle the only sound beside Duke's panting. Then Duke froze, his ears snapping upright. A low growl rumbled in his throat. Michael followed his gaze toward the canyon shadows. Something moved there, something weak, collapsing. "Stay," Michael whispered, but Duke was already trotting forward, nose to the wind. Michael sighed, grabbed his plasma torch for light, and followed. What they found wasn't human. The beginning. She lay sprawled against the rocks, her skin a faint luminescent blue that seemed to flicker with the fading strength of her life. Dark hair spilled across her face, her breathing ragged and shallow. Her clothing, if it could be called that, was a torn weave of silver strands, more like organic armor than fabric. Michael knelt beside her, pressing fingers to her neck. A pulse, faint but present. Duke sniffed her hand cautiously, then let out a small whine as if sensing the urgency. The girl's lips moved, whispering in a language Michael didn't know. He leaned closer. "Save me." The words, accented but clear enough, sent a chill down his spine. She knew some English, or maybe their universal translator nodes worked partially. "Hang on," Michael muttered, shrugging off his pack. He pulled out the medkit and set to work. The scanner beeped uncertainly, trying to read her alien physiology. The results made no sense. Still, the wounds were obvious, gashes across her side, likely from claws. She'd been attacked, and badly. Michael cleaned and sealed what he could with med gel. But she was burning with fever, her blood reacting strangely to the atmosphere. If he didn't stabilize her, she'd die before dawn. Duke pressed against Michael's leg, whining louder, as if urging him not to give up. "All right, go," Michael said, glancing at the alien's face. "You're not dying here. Not tonight." The bond. They carried her back to camp, Michael half-dragging, half-lifting, Duke circling protectively. He laid her near the fire, wrapping her in his blanket. She shivered violently, murmuring words he couldn't understand. Hours passed. Michael fed the flames, fed Duke, and watched over her. Once, her hand reached out blindly, brushing Duke's fur. The dog didn't flinch. He curled against her side as though instinctively offering warmth. In the dim glow, Michael studied her. Not a woman, not quite a girl. Somewhere between, though by alien standards he couldn't guess her age. Her features were sharp yet delicate, her skin glowing faintly under the firelight. She was unlike anything he'd ever seen, and yet the desperation in her eyes was painfully familiar. At dawn, she woke fully. Her sapphire-like eyes darted around before settling on Michael. Fear, confusion, then something softer, recognition. "You save me," she whispered, her voice still fragile. Michael nodded. "Tried to. Don't thank me yet." She attempted a smile, then noticed Duke, who wagged his tail in lazy approval. Hesitantly, she reached out, stroking his fur. For the first time since he'd found her, Michael saw true warmth on her face. "Who are you?" he asked. "Lyra," she said haltingly. "Of Caliph, last one." The word struck him. Last one. Her gaze dropped, sadness washing over her. Through broken phrases and gestures, she explained. Her people, the Caliph, had been hunted by raiders who wanted their biotechnology. Her family, her entire colony, slaughtered. She had escaped into the wilderness, pursued by predators, until she collapsed near his camp. Michael listened in silence, his jaw tight. He had seen war before, seen refugees clinging to survival, but to hear it again, out here, far from the great centers of power, it struck a nerve. "You're safe now," he said, though he wasn't sure he could promise that. Duke barked once, as if echoing him. Growing trust. Over the next days, Lyra recovered slowly. Michael built a shelter to shield her from the desert winds, cooked meals, and shared water. Duke remained glued to her side, often resting his head in her lap. In return, Lyra showed small pieces of her world. She touched the canyon walls and hummed, causing faint vibrations that shifted the rock. She plucked strange plants and demonstrated how their sap glowed in the dark. Once, she healed a shallow cut on Duke's paw simply by pressing a glowing hand to it. The wound sealed within moments. Michael stared in awe. "You carry tech inside you." She shook her head gently. "Not tech. We are bonded with living light. My people made for harmony." There was a gentleness in her that unsettled Michael. After years of cynicism, he wasn't used to kindness without price. Yet every night, as they sat by the fire, he found himself telling her stories about the colonies, about Earth, about the wars he had fought in. She listened with wide eyes, soaking in every word. One night, she placed a hand over his and whispered, "You carry hurt, but still kind." Michael swallowed hard, looking away. He hadn't been called kind in a long, long time. The conflict, it couldn't last. 2 weeks after finding her, ships came. Raiders. Their engines thundered across the skies as they searched the canyons. Lyra went pale at the sound, clutching Duke tightly. "They hunt me," she said, trembling. "Want Caliph blood, our light." Michael cursed under his breath. He'd seen men like that before, slavers, profiteers, the kind who carve value out of suffering. "We'll move," he said, packing quickly. "Head north, find the coalition outpost." But the raiders found them first. A skimmer roared down into the canyon, armed men spilling out. Michael drew his old plasma pistol, standing between them and Lyra. Duke snarled, teeth bared. Well, the leader sneered. "Looks like we found our prize. Hand her over, Drifter. Save yourself the trouble." Michael's grip tightened. "She's under my protection." The leader laughed. "A human playing hero? Don't be a fool. She's worth more than your life 100 times over." But Michael had made his choice the night he bandaged her wounds. He wasn't giving her up. The firefight erupted in flashes of plasma and the roar of Duke charging headlong at armed men. Michael fought fiercely, but they were outnumbered. Just as one raider aimed for him, a surge of blinding light exploded from Lyra. She stood with eyes glowing, her whole body shimmering with raw energy. The raiders staggered back as arcs of living light launched from her hands, driving them into retreat. Duke barked wildly, circling her as if guarding goddess. When it ended, the raiders fled, terrified of what they'd seen. Michael turned to her, chest heaving. "You could have done that all along." Her face was pale, sweat dripping. "Only once. Cost much." She swayed, nearly collapsing. He caught her before she fell. "You saved me," he whispered. Her lips curved in a faint smile. "Gratitude for saving me first."